I don't trust you anymore.
We're live.
Ah, yeah, right.
You told me, all right. You can't be like, oh, I don't trust you.
G'day, everybody. Welcome to Pints with Aquinas. My name is Matthias Fraddius, and I want to invite you to support us on Locals. A lot of our content is going to start being hosted over there exclusively, and then a lot of the stuff that we are going to put on YouTube is going to be over on Locals before it's on YouTube. So we'd really appreciate your support. mattfradd.locals.com. When you join right now, we will send you a free beer stein. Look at that.
If you join for a
That's the only option.
subscription.
It's the only option.
Oh, it is now.
Yeah, changed it. So that'd be great. We got newspapers we give to you. It's just a lot of stuff. You get a lot of stuff. So mattfradd.locals.com. All right, so someone sent me this article recently. It came out of the American Conservative.
Wait, did somebody send it to you before I did?
Did you send it to me?
Yeah.
Maybe you're the someone who sent it to me.
I definitely sent it to you.
And I read it, and I think I'd like to kind of make something of a defense of Dennis Prager, who, for those who aren't aware, I think everyone's aware, but he was on my show. We debated pornography, and the topic of artificial child pornography came up, and yeah, it was an interesting discussion.
I mean,
we should probably read through it.
I mean, we could read through it. Yeah, you were trying to do a reductio to prove that the act itself is evil, figuring that he would agree with you, and
I know, I kept thinking he would agree with me. I really did.
Yeah, because he doesn't agree with you.
Yeah, so that's fair. All right, so here's the article. This comes from Bradley Devlin. He says, "What are you trying to conserve?" The answer for Dennis Prager is apparently defending the inalienable right of people to produce, consume, and masturbate to animated child pornography. Right away, that is way too aggressive, way too on the nose. His article is called "To Catch a Prager," based on the, I think it was NBC, To Catch a Predator. So he's insinuating from this title that Prager amounts to that, a predator, and then he begins by saying this, which is not at all what he said.
He did say it's a right, and he has said that he doesn't think we should ban it.
Pornography in general? Or, yeah. I don't know. I think he'd probably be more open to banning animated child pornography. When we began discussing it, his point was, if it prevents someone from acting out on a child, then it's less bad than if he were to act out on a child. And I think, obviously, I think animated child pornography is heinous. I think all pornography is heinous. I think child pornography is especially heinous. And we obviously talked about that in the clip. So I'm not defending his position, but I am saying I think he was trying to offer something more nuanced. Like the two of us in our back and forth agreed that we would both want to help this person if we knew them who was looking at animated child pornography. His nuanced take, which I disagree with, is that while he might call it bad or some other word, he wouldn't call it evil because he only uses the word evil when talking about actions. And I said, okay, but this is an action. Like someone's creating it, or if they're not creating it, someone's masturbating to it. What are you talking about? But still, his overarching point is clearly not, I think child pornography is something that could be good and should be defended by the Constitution. You disagree?
Yeah. I think you should believe people when they tell you who you are.
Yeah, I do too, but he didn't say that child pornography should be defended by the Constitution.
He didn't say he talked about animated child pornography, and he said it's not evil, and unless his view on law is so inconsistent that he thinks things that are not evil should be banned, then he clearly thinks that it should not be banned and thinks that therefore it's a right. Well, that's what his organization under his name, that's how they define rights, things that people should not be banned from doing.
Ooh, okay. I just thought if we delved deeper into the chat and we started bringing up legal language, that his answers may have differed or become more nuanced, because this was a freewheeling conversation where I think we were focusing primarily on morality, and we weren't bringing in the law into it at all. And I see your point about the inconsistency, but again, if you want to take people at their word, he never said that this is something that Americans should be doing. He thinks they shouldn't be doing it. He thinks no one should be doing it. He just wouldn't call it evil.
No, but if your worldview is such that things that you think aren't evil should be banned, then I think that's an issue of principle that, like, this is an awful thing to have said, what he said. But my concern...
The author or the...
Prager.
Okay, yeah.
What he said about animated what he said about the lolly stuff is an awful thing to have said. But I would be more concerned if his worldview on law was such that you should ban things which aren't evil, because then he has a fundamentally different view of what law is than what the Christian conception is, that law is I can't say that word. I can say pedagogical. Law is pedagogical, to teach truth, to teach against evil. And if his view on law is such that it should just be whatever is, in my personal opinion, not good, but I won't call evil, then that worries me almost more, because his view on law is so inconsistent, and he's a huge voice in the conservative sphere.
When I was talking to him, and after reviewing the video that him and I did together, I think he was just trying to make we were both trying to define what we meant by evil. And so I think he was trying to be nuanced in saying it's bad but not evil, because when I use the word evil, I don't use it when it pertains to fantasies. And so I just, without clarifying further, I'm not sure I'd want to go as far as this blogger or this article writer did. It would be sort of like if you asked me about evil and asked me if I thought it were substantial. And I was like, no, it's not. Like, evil is a privation of goodness. It works like a parasite, right? I'm trying to be nuanced, but I could see in a conversation like that, the other person taking me to mean evil doesn't exist. It's just degrees of goodness.
Wrong shot. Yeah, but this would be like out of the blue and something inconsistent with your previous statements. And his previous statements have been that pornography is not bad because it's less good, but that doesn't amount to it being bad.
At the very least, maybe we should keep reading this article, but at the very least, I think he should have quoted Prager as saying, we want to help people who are struggling with this. And he didn't do that a great deal. He just makes him seem like honestly, like a predator. That's what it's kind of called. And okay, so the clip from a debate with Matt Fradd on Pints with Aquinas a few months back is making the rounds on social media. Watch it. I say, if I'm masturbating, I hope I didn't say I, but there we go. If I'm masturbating to pictures of animated child pornography.
You did say I'm.
Did I?
Yeah.
Did that like strike you like, oh, don't do that? If I'm masturbating to pictures of animated child pornography, I'm not doing something evil. That's correct. Okay, so here it is in context. Would you use the word evil of animated child pornography? Because I certainly would. No, I would use evil only with behavior. And I said, so if I masturbated to animated child pornography, am I doing something evil? I'm not doing something evil. That's correct. And I said, yeah, I think that's despicable. And he says, really? And I said, yes, of course. And then the author goes on to say, over the years, Prager has staked some bizarre claims when it comes to sexuality, particularly when it comes to pornography, but this utter insanity has to take the cake. This clip isn't indicative of the full 48-minute conversation between Prager and Fradd. The video is worth a skim. Just fast forward to all of Fradd's responses. Some of the parts where Fradd understandably looks at Prager with complete befuddlement are worth watching too, if only for laughs. The pair discuss the pornification of society, to which I guess it is worth specifying both are opposed. And so here he quotes Prager, the number of young men who learn about women through porn and not real life is a very scary thing, Prager says at one point. Throughout the conversation, Prager repeatedly says he is anti-porn, only to say something about the harmlessness or benignity of its consumption immediately after. I agree with that statement. He did keep doing that. Immediately after the previously hyperlinked clip ends, Prager asks Fradd, who is being hurt by the consumption of animated child porn? And I said, so he's saying you have to have a victim in order to call it evil. Fradd responds and says the consumer and the animator. Right, good job, Fradd. Before Prager interjects, I won't call a fantasy evil. Prager,
I will not call a fantasy evil. That's how he said it. You guys can go look at it.
I will not. There's too much real evil on earth for me to start being preoccupied with people's thinking. Yes, real evil surrounds us every day. It has a spiritual element, a dimension that seems fantastical. That doesn't make it less real, but more real. So I think I've summed up my position. I think if you're going to write an article like this with "to catch a Prager" as the headline, and then state immediately that he wants to defend the inalienable right of people to produce, consume, and masturbate to animated child pornography, you're reading between the lines, and you're also not giving him his due in pointing out that we don't want people to look at child pornography. It's very evil, and that we would want to help such people. That's really my only defense.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think what he said is so despicable, and the fact that he's not willing to say anything anti-porn without following it up with an immediate caveat of how it can do good is evidence that he doesn't actually understand how evil it is, even if he says he does. And that I think my position literally just comes down to believe people when they tell you who they are. And he has told us multiple times who he is, and he's a person who doesn't think pornography is inherently evil. And in a society that is defined by pornography at every level, I think it's an inexcusable error to be making for us to allow someone of his stature to continue to tell us how to form our society and comment on politics if we know that when it comes to the most fundamental error affecting young men and women, or the most fundamental cause of these errors, he's not willing to just condemn it. I think what he said was inexcusable, and he should not be trusted on any matter. I don't think he understands evil.
Nah, I think that's way too hyperbolic. To say that somebody can't be trusted on anything because they're flat out wrong or hold an evil opinion isn't true.
He does this isn't one evil opinion though. He doesn't understand the nature of evil. Which means he doesn't understand the nature of good.
But a lot of people don't understand the nature of evil. It doesn't mean we
I
can't
would say
trust
the
them
same
on
thing
anything.
about them.
No, I don't think you would. I think that Christians have different ways of explaining evil. Not all of them sound like Thomas Aquinas. I would say most Christians, if you asked if is evil a real thing, they would say yes, it's a real substantial thing. Like most of us are material heretics, if not formal heretics. I would imagine if you did a poll of most rational Catholics in the world, they would all probably have an erroneous understanding of evil. But that doesn't mean they're willing to have that erroneous view. Does that make sense?
Yes, but that's Catholics who aren't educated on high levels on these philosophical things.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also not expecting those. We also wouldn't be giving those Catholics a platform to teach other Catholics, to teach other Christians, to teach societies about what good and evil are.
That's a different argument.
That's the argument I'm making.
And I agree with that argument. But what you said a moment ago is if somebody doesn't understand evil, then we can't trust them. If they get this wrong, if they don't understand evil, we can't trust them on anything. That's what I'm trying to pin down. I said we can't trust them specifically in the context of telling us how to live and how to do politics. Right. In the context of politics and what is good and bad in politics, if you do not understand the nature of good and evil, and you don't understand the nature of law, then I don't think we should be trusting you to tell us to be a commentator, to be a intellectual thought leader. Right. No, I agree with
in that field.
So your point isn't that he hasn't made good points about, say, America not being a racist country or these other things. No. He could be right on these other things. You're just saying we shouldn't be holding him up as a thought leader if he's going to hold these particular views. If he's going
to hold these views that are indicative of very fundamental errors in his understanding of what politics, good and evil are. Politics, what good, what evil, all these things, then holding him up as a thought leader and encouraging people to follow him is to their detriment and too much of a risk when we have thought leaders who are not making these errors. It would be different if we didn't. I
completely agree with you.
If we didn't have thought leaders who weren't making these same errors, this would be a different thing.
Yeah.
But we have thought leaders we can point people to who are not making these errors, who do understand the nature of good and evil, who do understand what politics is for, who do understand what law is for. And he clearly does not. So pointing people to him to say, go learn about what good and evil is.
Yeah.
Go learn about politics. When we know that he is bereft of the true understanding, and there are people that we could be pointing him, and there are other leaders we could be pointing those people to instead, it's a huge error.
I agree with you, but I'd want to be more nuanced about it. Like if I saw a video of him saying something that you and I would both agree is well said, and then we know somebody who would do well with his personality. You know, like there's certain people, like I would probably obviously rather my parents read and love Brant Petra to say Matthew Kelly. But they would probably vibe more with Matthew Kelly. And so I'd be like, okay, and I'm not saying anything bad about Matthew Kelly, nor am I analogizing it. I'm just trying to say that certain personalities work better with some people. And I think if you have a friend who you think would hear what Prager is saying, but they wouldn't hear through somebody else is saying, then it would make sense to say, well, listen to what this fella says. I don't agree with him on everything, but I think he's right in this video.
That's fine, but we wouldn't be holding him up as leader.
Yeah.
Right? He is, I think you would have to agree that he's one of the 2 or 3 major thought leaders in the conservative online space.
Yes, and let me just say this. I'm thrilled. It's funny. I'm thrilled that this came out, and I'm thrilled this interview happened, because I think that just like there are Catholic prelates and personalities who want to make friends with the LGBTQ movement, I think there are also conservatives who preach evil or proclaim it or justify it in the way Prager does with pornography. And it's about time that we conservatives didn't just let anybody with some conservative thought have the microphone. And so I'm really glad about that. And so I agree with you.
Yeah, I think that, you and I have had this conversation before, and you can tell me you disagree, but my personal opinion is that I don't think we should, as Christians who want to build the kingdom of God and build the kingdom of Christ, be giving the microphone or leadership, so to speak, to any non-Christian.
Yeah, so I agree with that if there's no other good options. So if my 2 options are a Satanist or a Mormon who's a practicing Mormon, I would much rather, and they're both running for president, I'd obviously much rather the Mormon be president.
Yes, but those are not the options currently.
No, I know. I don't want to talk about the options currently. I'm just saying that it's often not a binary, like we have a Christian and we have a whoever else, right? We often have to learn from the best thing available.
Yeah, but I think we have people who are currently available who are getting everything, but I think there are people in the conservative sphere currently who get everything 97% correct, who would be 10 times better than the non-Christian thought leaders that are popular because they're well-spoken. And I think especially if there, I think that I'll concede here. I think that similar to how we view pastorally, we give people milk before we give them meat. Mm-hmm. There are some people who are particularly left libertarian who may need people like Prager and Shapiro and atheists like Poole and Tim Poole, right? And yeah, we give them milk, but the end goal should be that we expect them to come to the fullness of the truth. Mm-hmm. And we should be fully aware that Prager and Shapiro and Tim Poole do not possess it. And there are Catholics and Christians who do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. 1,000%. Well, anyway, that's it. Do you agree with any of my criticisms of this article?
I think coming out swinging like he did would turn people off if you actually wanted to change their mind.
I also think you could have made a stronger case by being
I've
more...
recently come to notice in a lot of my pet issues that I don't have to even mention them, but you can make a stronger case by weakening your opening because it forces people to recognize that your principle applies in a way that they didn't realize it does.
Okay, can you give an example? Or
yeah, so my positions on economics that you disagree with.
I don't know if I disagree with. I just don't think I've thought them through like you have.
I've recently come to realize that if I just admit that they're utopian and say, yes, I realize this is utopian position, but we can't, this is the standard. We should set up the standard of utopia because we're literally what is the mission of Christians on earth is to build the kingdom of God. That is a utopia.
Yeah,
the mission is to build a utopia.
Yeah.
So when we set up our goals, let's set up our goals to be utopian and figure out what the small steps we do to get there are. And so you can strengthen your whole position by admitting things that seem to make it weak. And I think that the great example of this that I've recently come to realize is that my positions on economics, I know they're utopian. If I just tell people who disagree with me that I know they're utopian, it actually strengthens my position because it forces them to
now deal with the argument.
Now deal with my principle. Don't deal with whether it's pragmatic today. Deal with my principle.
I wonder if I did something similar with Prager where he was trying to talk about, he set up this false binary where he would rather have a loving father who would occasionally look at pornography than something else. And I said to him, but wouldn't it have been better if you had a loving father who thought your mother's body was enough for him? And do you remember that? He's like, well, I'm not going to give you the answer you want, but yes, okay, yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is the assumption or demission, depending on whose side you're on, a translation of the Mother of God. And I want to chat more, but I did just want to share this beautiful prayer that I love so much. It's from the Akathist to Mary, which is a prayer in the east, and it goes like this. O champion, this is to Mary, how good is this? O champion general, we, your faithful, inscribe to you the prize of victory as gratitude for being rescued from calamity, O Theotokos. But since you have invincible power, free us from all kinds of perils, so that we may cry out to you, O bride unwedded. Amen. Have you been to Mass today?
No, I'm got to go tonight.
You're going to go at 6 with us? At 5 with us?
5:15 at St. Pete's?
No, I'm going to Liturgy at Sycamore Center at 5.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. No, I'll go. Of course I'm going to go to. Yeah.
Nice.
Can we, real quick?
Yes, please.
Talk about how awesome Father Peter is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, no
one's going to know, but he deserves love.
But there are more general things to bring out of how he's awesome.
Yeah.
So Father Peter is our local Melkite priest, and he is terrific. And I'll say why I think he is, and you say why you think he is. He's just a really traditional guy, and we have these Monday morning 8 a.m. prayer sessions with a bunch of men in almost an abandoned building here in Steubenville. And I love that after we pray Orthos, all the men line up and kiss his hand. And I think a lot of priests, maybe more...
Well, we do that after Divine Liturgy too.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of maybe more boomer priests, in the same way that they would criticize Latin and say the youth aren't into Latin, that kind of stuff. You're like, dude, they're so into Latin. I think it's similar. Like, you've got priests who think that that's a sign of pride. It's like, no, it's not a sign of pride at all. Are you kidding me? It's a sign of humility to allow me to reverence you as this new ontological creature that you are.
Yeah, I think that's like an instance that just like so recently I had this experience where at First Friday, I walked up to him. He was talking to another friend of ours who is kind of, on the border between Eastern Catholic and fully Orthodox. And who it is doesn't matter. And I can't remember exactly what he said, but I was listening because I know them both. I'm friends with both of them, and I just was listening to them speak. And Father Peter, in the way he talks about the problems in the church between the East and the West, or between tradition and progress, strikes the balance that I think we all inherently want in a pastor, where he is not ever willing, he's not ever afraid to admit the problem, but he's never willing to sound defeatist or to speak negatively of those who have authority in a way that is inappropriate. 'Cause there are certain negatives that need to be spoken, and there's something about that makes you trust him, be willing, makes me personally be willing more to trust him with my soul, because I know that he's an honest person who, when something is wrong, will tell me, but won't encourage me into something so extreme that it's wrong in the other direction.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and he was saying to an Orthodox friend of mine recently, he was saying, like, there were times in church history where the East absolutely needed the West. And he's like, but now, like, the West is
what he was saying.
Complete
That's
mess,
what he was saying. Yes.
And we need the East. And he said, but these crazy elements within the West, and certainly there are in the East as well, but these crazy elements that are so loud right now, it's like your crazy uncle. Like, everyone's got a crazy uncle or like a whatever. It's like, you don't abandon your family if they go crazy, or if they say things you disagree with within reason, right? Or you trust that this is God's church and he's going to right it. And it's happened before in history, and it's happening right now. Yeah, so I love that as well. Another thing we should say about Father Peter, and we won't say specific names if that's okay, but he may have spoken curtly to somebody, or to his own, in his own estimation, he sent a curt email to somebody who was part of the parish. And this is recently, and when this person came up at the end to receive the blessed bread, not the Eucharist, this is after liturgy, Father got down, do you know this? He got down on his hands and knees and kissed his feet to apologize. Isn't that wonderful? Did you know that?
Didn't know that. Was that last week?
No, it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
I may have been it.
Yeah. But it's like in front of everybody.
Okay, can we, let's do this right now, okay?
Right now, let's do it.
No, let's do it, okay? I resonate more with Western liturgy, but the people and the community in the Melkite parish are where I want to be, but I cannot.
Yeah.
I want to love the liturgy, but I just find it distracting.
Yeah.
And I can't become spiritually I can't pray alongside it.
Yep.
What should I do?
It's a great question. Well, first of all, I actually respect people who were raised in the West and remain faithful to the West traditions, even though things in many places are in shambles. I think there's something to be said about that. I went to the East. I'm now an Eastern Catholic, as people probably know. For me, it wasn't like that. I would say maybe for the first few times, it was like very different. And so that was a bit shocking and jarring to me. But now it's just like I walk into Divine Liturgy or Vespers or Orthros, whatever, and I just sink into it. Like I'm absorbed into it. And I feel like I'm now a part of a boat and all the movements kind of I'm just moving along with the rhythm of the liturgy, as it were. But I don't think you got to force yourself to do that. I think it's perfectly valid to say I just resonate more with a beautiful Novus Ordo. Just do that.
Yeah,
There's also something to be said about Eastern churches in that they're much smaller. And so they usually, it's kind of like perhaps like a Latin Mass church. They attract a specific kind of people, and those specific kinds of people tend to be bigger families, maybe more intentionally faithful. They have a prayer routine, like those kind of things. Whereas if you've got just a general Novus Ordo, it's like here comes everybody. And so I guess I could also understand why you might resonate more with the group of people that go to this small church than, say, a gigantic parish.
Yeah. Well, you also know my personality. Like I'm most social in small groups. Like you're most social one-on-one.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
I'm most social in smaller groups.
I love you in smaller groups.
What?
I love you in smaller groups. You're a hoot.
Yeah, in big groups, I just feel like I can't. Maybe it's something of pride, but I feel like the reason I have fun in small groups is because I can like play off of everyone, and like everybody comes together because I just take nothing seriously until it's very obviously serious. But it's like so like the smaller groups in the smaller parish, especially the people at St. Joseph's, are just
What is it about big crowds that you find inhibiting or something?
There's too much noise.
So I wonder if I am not great in small groups, unless I really know everybody, right? In the same way that you're not good in large groups, and I'm not good in large groups either. And I think it's because I don't understand the rules. So like, was you and I chatting, like I understand that like if you've got a point that you're trying to make, I shouldn't be talking over you. I should let you talk. I should nod. I should really try to understand you, reiterate what you said. And if it's like five of us and I know everybody, I feel just as comfortable in that group than I would with just you and me. Yeah. But if it's people I don't know that well, it's almost like I don't understand the rules well enough to participate in this.
I think I break one of the like normal social rules, and nobody's ever been upset by it. But if I'm in a small group of like 5 to 6 people maybe, and everyone else is like really enjoying the conversation, but I can tell that I'm just like kind of zoned out, and I'm just there for the like because people I know are there and I'm being friendly.
Yeah.
But I notice somebody else in the group is also kind of zoned out. Like I'm not afraid to just like start another side one-on-one conversation. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because it's like neither of us are having a great time with this specific topic. Like we don't understand it, or we just don't find it entertaining. Like let's just
I'm with you. Because ideally,
company.
if there's 5 of us around a table, it's nice to have one person speaking and it's all engaged. But sometimes people go on too long and you can tell other people are bored. And it's like, well, I want to talk to this person because I don't see them much. So I'm just going to start up this.
Yeah, or there's like 3 people who are really, especially in Steubenville, occasionally you get 3 people who are like genius level professors. And then there's 2, there's like guys like you and I who are just like vibing all the time. It's just like... whatever. Like I'm done with this conversation. Like
I felt like
that was really cool.
I felt like that today with Dr. Bergsma. Like he would just speak eloquently for 30 minutes. I'm like, right on.
It's so cool.
Dude, that's awesome. What are some other social faux pas that you commit or you see other people committing that frustrate you?
I'm really bad at interrupting, and I just did it there because I thought of. I'm really bad about interrupting.
And is this something you've always known about yourself or that you've learned?
I've known it for a long time. My parents used to try to get me to stop, and they were unsuccessful, obviously, but they did try. It's not their fault.
But so do you agree with them?
Yeah.
Yeah. But what is it? But when you do interrupt, it's not to be rude. So what are you doing it for?
I process quicker and in a different way than most people do.
Yeah.
And so once I get most of someone's thought or like the essential part, my brain is like got the response ready to go. And it's just like, well, I know like the second half of this sentence is, like right there, you were like, what are some social faux pas you or other people do that you have? And it's like, that I've noticed and could point out. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, I interrupt. Like, I know that's like,
so you, now I'm wondering at what point in this sentence you're going to interrupt me because you'll get the point. So you believe yourself to understand the point people are trying to make halfway through the sentence or close enough to that, right? And you're usually right, I presume. But are there times that you're like, oh no, I totally had no idea where that person was going? Or,
yeah, occasionally.
Yeah.
And you said or, I was like, or not, right? Like, I don't need the or not there.
Exactly. Like, we're save time here, yeah.
Well, it also works because it works. It's less bad when you're in one-on-one conversation with somebody you know really well, which is like when it's with you and I, like it's like when I get to a certain point in what I'm saying, you're like, I got it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But also, I suppose when people are trying to express something that is hard for them to express or it's meaningful, a big part of the communication is you respecting them, laying it out there the best way they can and hearing it. Is that the you want to interrupt me so bad.
I almost interrupted you.
I get it.
Yeah. The other way it happens is when I'm like in a debate or like disagreeing with somebody, if I think that they've started wrong and I can tell they're going to go on for a long time off of the start point, I have this like without knowing it, like I have this habit of just being like, nope, stop right there. You're wrong there. Like, let's not even continue. This is where you're wrong.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I did something the other day that I actually apologized to this person for. We were sitting around, there was a group of us, we're all chatting, and this person's phone kept going off in the middle of a conversation. And you know how much I hate that. And at some point, I opened my wallet up and I said, I will give you $1 right now just to turn your ringer off. Is there any reason you need that ringer on? Does your phone not have a vibrate option? It does. Can you not feel it when it vibrates? You can. Do you see the point? Do you see that this phone is interrupting the flow of this fun conversation? And I was a jerk about it, so I actually wrote and apologized and said, I'm so sorry. Because I did it in front of other people. It was a jerky thing to do. But does that bother anybody else? Or just me? Because I'm getting
it's
old,
older people
yeah.
who it bothers, because younger people, when they hear phone go off, but they're in the middle of something else, are perfectly capable of just like, oh, the phone went off, store that for later, that when this is finished, I should go check it. You know?
See, I'd be okay if we were in a conversation and it went off once. Not even, I'm talking about somebody else's phone. Like, bing, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But then it's like 2 minutes later, bing, 30 seconds later, bing. At that point, I just think the person should be pushed to the fringes of society.
Which is hilarious, because I feel like you would be the person who would get the most notifications, as 90% of the time, any social group you're in, you're the most famous.
Well, not any group, but yeah, maybe Steubenville famous. But I don't think my phone goes off. But I'm really bad at responding to people.
No, I just think it's funny because I would assume that your phone would be the one that would go off the most, but it's not.
No.
This chair needs oiled. It's doing that thing where it's
WD-40.
Cooing like a pigeon.
Yeah, I remember that one time that your seat was cooing like a pigeon and I was chatting with someone, like, what the hell? And I could tell he's thinking, what the hell is that sound?
And I can't hear it because I'm in the headphones. Right, and you were like, what is that sound? And I was like, oh, it's my chair, my bad.
All right, so interrupting, phones binging, we have different thoughts on these. I really don't like it. I have really little patience for people who start speaking and don't stop and don't let there be any room for someone to chat, and they're just... That really bothers me. I don't want to be around people like that.
Sorry, what did you say?
You bastard.
I totally zoned out.
Did you really? You're like, sorry, I lost interest when I stopped speaking.
No, I zoned all the way out. I was trying to figure out where I could sit to my chair, not make noise.
All right, that's fair. No problem. What else is a social faux pas?
No, what did you say? Are you not going to tell me?
I'll go back to it. But if you're watching right now live, let us know in the comments what do you think are some kind of things that frustrate you, maybe that you do or that other people do. I don't like it when people just start speaking and don't stop. You know, like it's like here's a 1 minute monologue, and then you interject and they go into another 2 minute monologue. You're like, I can't do this. Not only can I not do this, but it wouldn't be loving for you for me to sit here and pretend that this is okay. So at that point, I usually look very disinterested until they stop, or I'll just leave. Were you about to say, what was that?
No, I was looking over there bored. Never mind. I was doing a bit.
Yeah. A lot of pet peeves.
We have questions from the last locals thing that we could take.
Probably, but people might be in the live chatting.
Yeah, what do you guys have questions for Matt and Thursday?
Matt, refer to yourself by the first person. Matt and
third
Thursday.
Person? Oh, whoops. That's interesting. Hello? Oh, never mind. Why are 500 people watching? You guys have questions? AMA, ask us anything.
I love that we judge our audience. Like, why would you be watching? It is.
Just got a text from our friend Ben that I'm joining his family's fantasy football league.
Oh.
I haven't played fantasy football in years. Can't wait to lose money.
See, it's really good I didn't stop you thinking I knew where you were going, because I thought you were going to say, I'm going to join his family.
I already did that, pretty much.
All right.
There's nobody's chatting. Either
527 people,
broken.
No one gives a crap.
Either that or chat is like broken. Kyle, is chat broken? Haley, is chat broken? Haley's in the chat. Haley, could you text me if chat's broken?
How are you today? When will you get Brett Cooper on the show? I think Brett's far too big for little Matt Fradd. I don't think she's going to come on.
Brett is not coming on the show. Wow, chat is working suddenly. I think chat was broken.
Wow, I think you were. Man, they're filing in now.
They're popping in all of a sudden.
Hey, if y'all haven't watched the video we released yesterday, I would encourage you to check it out. My wife and I sat in the studio at different intervals, and we were asked 5 questions about dating and marriage. And so I didn't know what her answers would be, and she didn't know what mine would be. But Thursday edited them together. It's a really funny clip. People really love that black and white thing you did.
Yeah. I want to point out that there were 3 comments on that video that were like, hey, you should have them react to each other's answers.
Yes.
Which is something Cameron and I tried to get Matt to do, and he refused.
That's because we leave first thing in the morning tomorrow.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I don't even care.
It's fine.
How can I become Catholic? You could contact your local parish and ask to speak to the priest. Did you see Hassan Piker reacted to your chat with Dennis? Who's that?
Oh, Hassan Piker. He's the socialist Marxist Twitch streamer who's super rich and whose uncle funds him because his uncle is also super rich.
Cool.
How old is Thursday? I am 6 years old. I'm 24.
So is he a big
huge.
channel? Oh,
Yeah.
that's good. I'm sure he was mocking me, but nice to be mocked by someone with a large audience.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
I just assume he's mocking me.
You want to look down the camera and say thank you, Hassan Piker?
Thank you, Hassan Piker. Oh, she's okay. So Haley says, do not clear your nose or throat in conversations. That is my only conversation faux pas.
What?
Clear like that?
Yeah, but what if you need to?
I think you should step away. Like if you know it's going to be guttural, you should go to the bathroom. Like it's one thing to do this. It's another thing to do this. I got a friend, and I'm not going to say any more, who does that a lot. And I think there was no one in his life who loved him enough to say, this is unacceptable. You have to stop. So it's just continued.
Do you love him enough? That's a no. Moving on.
No, I do love him, but he's in a position of somewhat authority. I'll tell you later. Yeah, I know. I'll tell you later.
I don't think who that would be.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't guess. I'm putting it vaguely because I don't want to call this person out.
Socialism and Rolex is the Twitch special. That's a great comment.
Although I will say,
can you guys talk about do you want to, Amy Young right there below crazy, I was crazy once?
I'd rather not, just because I don't know enough about it to talk about it.
Can you come to Vancouver and hang out?
No.
Son Piker, I'm coming to thank you in real life.
What does that mean?
Oh no, I have to explain this to Matt now. Okay, so Sam Hyde, who you are familiar with somewhat because I've shown you some of his videos.
Okay.
Sam Hyde, the guy with the glasses and the big beard, the absurdity comedian.
I'm sure he's great. I don't know.
Don't say that. He's not sure he's great.
I don't know who he is.
So he did the YouTuber boxing thing, right? And he won his match. And he had
What is a YouTuber boxing thing?
There's this big ongoing years long trend at this point of YouTubers boxing each other.
Oh, cool.
And so he won his match, and the whole time he wanted to fight Hassan.
Okay.
Because Sam Hyde is a far right comedian.
Okay.
And Hassan's a far left guy.
Okay.
And Hassan just kept dodging him. And so he wins his match, and they're like, anything you want to say to the heavyweight division? And he leans all the way into the microphone and goes, Hassan Piker, I'm coming to kill you at your house in Los Angeles. And the guy goes, in the ring, right? And he goes, no, in real life.
That sounds like a Key and Peele skit.
It's so fun. The whole time, anytime he's doing something boxing, he also does a super thick Irish accent and goes by the moniker the Candy Man.
Oh my. Why don't people say, oh, I don't want to do that, he'd destroy me? Do you think it's people's pride that prohibits them from saying that?
Yeah. For sure.
Someone asked me the other day who would win between you and me and then Trent Horn and Kyle. And I was like, oh my gosh, Trent would just... Trent is so
Trent
obsessed with
you, and
jiu-jitsu.
Kyle has 6 inches and 100 pounds on me. No offense, Kyle. Kyle told me that. Kyle was because I weighed myself and I was like, I'm down a few pounds. And Kyle goes, what are you at? I was like 145. And he was like, what? Somebody asked, this is an interesting question. Go to Matt Solo for this question because I have nothing to say on this. Do you think it is necessary for spouses to be attracted physically? And if so, is it okay for that to go away with age?
I think it's necessary that you're attracted. And obviously it's not necessary in the true sense of the word necessity. I mean, you think of arranged marriages, for example, where you maybe had no say in the matter, didn't even see the person. Maybe you don't even... You agree to marry them, but you might not be physically attracted to them. But I think generally speaking, you should absolutely be attracted to your spouse. I think that spouses should try hard to be presentable to their spouse. They shouldn't let themselves go. And that's very different to say if you're pregnant or you have some kind of disease or something like that, where your body is going to change. Obviously, our bodies change, especially with women, with pregnancy and things like that. So it's not, I'm not talking about demanding unrealistic things of each other, but I'm saying we should take care of our appearance. And I'd be really sad if, I could never see myself not being attracted to my wife because I actually I like her as a person and I find that really attractive. I'm sure as we get older, there'll probably be a time where we're both 60s or 70s. And if you showed me I was going to say a photo of her when we were in our 20s and then now, I think I would say objectively that's a more attractive woman, right? Because our bodies break down and crumble, and that's not beautiful. But I don't know. I think my wife's more beautiful today than when we met. And she's 102. No, she's 42. So I don't know.
For people not in the inn, which is nobody, because we haven't talked about this on the show before. Matt's wife is a little older than him, and he rubs it in all the time.
Yeah.
Somebody asked if I have a favorite part of Canticle. Yeah, it's the very end. And I can't spoil it, but the quotation from Matthew is excellent and used great for the storytelling. Somebody asked who you want to fight. If you were to do a YouTuber boxing match, who would you fight?
I wouldn't fight anybody because I'd lose all of the fights.
No, I'd have to pick on a 17-year-old.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to do it. I wouldn't be good in a fight situation. Has
Matt seen the Father Pine Trent Horn debate?
Oh my gosh, did you see that? It's hilarious. Oh. So I shared that on Pints.
Oh, that's what
someone used AI to have Trent Horn debate Father Pine on what is a sandwich. Honestly, Trent Horn's voice sounded perfect. I sounded like an English dude. Father Pine sounded like Father Pine. That's scary.
Yeah.
How do they do that?
You train an AI model with recordings of the voice. You just need enough sounds.
Golly, I'm so old, man. Like I'm not up with it. Oh, look, here's an example. Anthony just says this. Matt doesn't pay attention to what's going on in the culture at all. I don't think
he also doesn't pay attention to the chat. That's like 5 minutes ago. That was like 5 minutes ago. You have scrolled in the chat at some point. It stopped going, and you are still 5 minutes back.
So who is this Sam Hyde? I'm going to type his name in.
I mean, so Sam Hyde is an absurdity comedian, I guess is the best way to describe him.
I see.
And he like became an internet meme through a series of different events, but he's like a meme in several different senses of the word. And it's like they're very Gen Z memes, like things that like people like you would be like,
what is this?
I understand why you find that funny, but I don't find it funny.
Yes. I
so
get
like
that.
one of the biggest things is after any tragedy that is human perpetuated, someone will put out this picture of Sam Hyde holding an AK-47.
I just saw that photo, yeah.
Yeah. And go, notorious terrorist Sam Hyde is believed to be behind it. And the point is, everybody does it. Like a bunch of people do it to see if they can get any journalists to publish that notorious terrorist Sam Hyde did it. And it's like, it's not like it's a little messed up because it's like while they're still trying to figure out who did it. So like the bodies are still warm when they're doing this with these tragedies.
Oh dear.
But like they're just trying to make fun of journalists. Yeah, but do you remember the ghost of Ukraine at the beginning of the Ukraine war? Okay, that was Sam Hyde. Okay. They got the entire media to start like going crazy over this ghost of Ukraine fighter pilot who like supposedly was knocking out Russians, and all of the pictures of the ghost of Ukraine were edited pictures of Sam Hyde.
Fair enough. So that's kind of like a Chuck Norris of my generation, right?
Yeah, but like we have multiple instances of success of getting people to believe these things.
I like that you say we, like we're on different teams, and we probably are.
I mean, as far as the generational gap, I mean, no offense, but somebody asking about guns.
Pints with Aquinas, 24-hour stream. When? We could just leave this going with this.
I mean, I could go home and get my laptop, and you and I could sit here and work.
Yeah, we could just leave the room. What could be a cool Pints with Aquinas 24-hour stream? Would people watch just an empty office?
No,
we'd have to do something more.
What?
How popular do you think you are?
Did you see this recently? A couple days ago, the Tate brothers recreated their jail cell and streamed for 24 hours from a recreation of their jail cell what their normal day in jail was.
That sounds kind of stupid.
It was really dumb.
And were they
like
pretending?
50,000 people watching.
Were they pretending to be in jail, just like laying on their bed? And... Are you serious?
Yeah. The whole thing was hilarious. At one point, they were just both sleeping and there was 30,000 people watching.
That's ridiculous. I wonder what the strangest 24-hour stream or ongoing stream has been. By strangest, I mean that really shouldn't have got that many eyeballs, but did. This would be one of them that you just brought up, but...
I mean, have you heard of the Ludwig Subathon?
I haven't heard of most things you find interesting.
So this happened 2 years ago now. So there was this thing that Twitch streamers would do where they would put a clock up for like 12 hours. Okay. And like they put a clock in the top corner of their stream for like 12 hours. And then for every sub and donation they got, it would be a certain amount of time added to the clock.
Okay.
And there had been some like shocking ones, like, you know, like it had gone on for 3 days, 4 days, right?
Holy mackerel.
Some guys like went a week, right? But like just organically, this guy Ludwig he had to stream for a month straight because people kept donating. He was live for a month straight. He was sleeping on stream. Like he had to.
And people are just commenting while he's sleeping, maybe adding money.
People watching, adding money. There were nights when he would go to bed with like 2 hours on the clock and he'd wake up and there'd be like a day and a half left on the clock.
We could do something like that if I interviewed somebody who I got along with really well, like Michael Gormley, and we put up a clock and we did that for
super chats.
Yeah. But every time people put money in, it would go up and it would just click down, you know.
Yeah.
That could be interesting.
That could be interesting.
But in order to
you
make
have to get Gomer to. You have to commit though, like because there's a good likelihood you're talking about like 8+ hours of streaming.
What about if every $1 you give, I'll add a second? Is that way? It could be really quick.
I forget what Ludwig's was. Does somebody in chat remember what Ludwig's time thing were? Because he had to lower it obviously about halfway through, and then the 1 month thing was actually also they put the month thing was a cap. They had like it was still going. They just like eventually were like 2 weeks in, they were like, okay, we're going for 30 days maximum. Like we're stopping at 30 days. Like no matter what happens, we're gonna stop. And there was time on the clock when they ended.
Had they not left the room?
He was leaving the room, but he was like taking the camera with him and stuff. And like
that is very interesting.
Yeah.
This AW says, clear answer is Matt and all his buddies live stream a poker tournament with Thrsdy as the dealer, complete with black attire and fully armed. I don't know why she was fully armed.
Yeah, fully armed is weird.
Why would you say that?
That seems odd.
The internet, man. It's a funny thing.
All you talk about. Haley, you're going to get us in trouble. Let's see Matt play Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Did you play it?
Yeah, I played it a little bit, but I've said this to you before. I can't play
finish
games. No, that's not what I was going to say, damn it. Stop interrupting me. What I was going to say is I don't have the time to invest. I don't have the time to invest into a game, not to finish it, just to make it a really deep, enjoyable experience. I don't even have that time. That's why this new game, Shadows of Doubt.
Shadows of Doubt, guys. Please, everybody go buy it because can you imagine, like this game is like nobody knows about it and it's in early access and it's that good. Can you imagine what they could do if they had like funding for, if it was as popular as it should be?
Oh my gosh.
Can you imagine how good this game would be?
Yeah.
Go buy Shadows of Doubt. Even if you're not going to play it, please give these guys $17.
All right, so here's the point. Here's the point in the stream where I ask you how to do it better, and we're going to lose everybody in the stream. Okay, when you pin things to your board,
yeah,
that's really hard to keep track of, right? Especially if you go into a place and you're collecting evidence really quickly and it throws it into one section.
You just drag it around.
Are you dragging it around right then when you get the evidence?
Yeah, when I pick up a piece of evidence, I put it where I want it. And then I rearrange as it fills up, and then you can zoom out, so your board gets bigger.
You know, I know that. But when you press F to have the board in front of you,
does
that pause the game, as it were? Or, because the point is when
Yes, it pauses.
It does.
F slows it down a lot.
Oh.
Escape pauses.
But no one cares about this conversation except you and me, but we're the point. So escape, though, you can't see your pin board through escape. You have to press F.
You press F, yeah.
So my point is, if I'm investigating a crime scene and I know people are coming to get me, I want to get out of there as soon as possible.
Okay, so let me give you the trick here.
Mm-hmm.
You wait till the enforcers have finished doing their investigation, and then they only leave one guy behind.
And then you hit him on the head with a hammer.
Well, no, you don't even have to do that. You just have to wait till he's not looking at the door, and you crouch, and then you walk in while he's turned his back, and then you just have all the time you want in there.
Yeah. So I hit the fellow on the face with a hammer repeatedly while he shot me.
So there's this clip from when I was streaming this game of me. So they haven't added shooting guns yet, but I didn't know this. So you can still have guns and you can have ammo, but I didn't know they hadn't added shooting yet. And so I have this gun and this guy starts attacking me. So I take my gun out and I start pushing the button that should be fire. But then my guy just starts smacking him over the head with this sniper rifle, like axe chopping him in the head.
And were you frustrated? Like, why?
I was like, "What is happening? No, wait, why is that shooting?"
So for those at home, this is it's like a, what how do you say it?
Procedurally generated murder mystery game. So every time you load into a new city, and then the murders are also procedurally generated. So I had a case. Last time I played on my stream, I had a case where we played, where I had a guy who was going around murdering his coworkers and then leaving cryptic business cards and then put a pin in it with their blood on the walls.
People are clicking onto this stream right now to see what we have to say about Prager, and that's what they hear. I killed him with a hammer.
Yeah, so this guy painted walls with blood. How nuts is that?
So when you stream,
yeah.
What's your YouTube channel again? For those at home?
At Thrsdy with no vowels. So
right.
at TRSDY157.
Right. And Matt Fradd does not necessarily endorse every comment made by Thrsdy in these streams.
Yeah, please, you should say that.
Just did.
So I had a guy handcuffed, and I was looking through a security camera footage, and I had handcuffed the security guard.
Uh-huh.
And then he like abruptly broke out of his handcuffs and started shooting at me. But he like jump scared me because I was still in the computer UI. And I go, what the balls? And started running around trying to figure out what's happening.
Cool.
Yep.
But when you stream, do you finish the game? Because it can be
so
quite...
most of the time what I do is I sit down and I load in a new world. And then I say, okay, I'm streaming till the murder is finished.
Till the murder is
so
finished?
I solved the case.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And do you do that?
Yeah, I've done
so
it.
You've got, because
once.
last time we spoke, you said you had only solved one crime.
So I'd only solved one. So the first couple times I didn't have it really nailed down. It took me a couple cases to nail everything down to figure out like what the best methods of approach were.
Yeah.
Because the tutorial level shows you all the basics, but the mechanics are so complex that the basics don't quite explain it.
Yeah.
And there are things that you can pick up on in the tutorial, but if you don't know what you're looking for, you don't know about it. Like, for example, like employee records contain fingerprints.
Okay.
So
Say it again.
The employee records at a person's place of business has their fingerprint on it.
Okay.
So if you have a fingerprint that you think is the murderer from the scene, and then you can check what you think might be their workplace, based on whatever evidence. You can check what might be their workplace and break into the employee records room. So
okay. Somebody asked if we could start a gaming community. We've done that on Discord.
We have a Discord, and
you have
we
to
do talk about gaming.
Yeah.
We need to start we have promised on multiple occasions to start a Minecraft server.
mattfradd.locals.com. Go support us over there. When you support us over at mattfradd.locals.com, you get a ton of free things in return. Way more than Trent Horn would ever give you. What a loser. We will send you a newspaper 4 times a year. You'll also get this Pints with Aquinas beer stein. We hold courses. We're doing one right now on Flannery O'Connor from Father Damien Ference. There's just a ton of stuff that we give you. And even tomorrow, we're going to release, Father Gregory Pine releases Spiritual Direction exclusively for local supporters. mattfradd.locals.com. And then when you do that, you can get access to the Discord server that way. And then maybe one day we'll start a Minecraft thing.
Maybe one day. It's hard to do. Somebody asked what my EDC is.
What is that?
Everyday carry. Oh, I carry a pen.
Yeah.
And I carry my wallet, my rosary, a tin of zins, and my phone.
What's funny about that question is that usually refers to weapons, doesn't it? EDC?
Yeah, I don't know why.
So why would they ask you that and not
I
me?
have no idea. That's such a weird thing to ask. Kind of out of the blue. Very private.
Good. All right. Well, listen, everybody. I love your guts, and I hope you're well. And next week, I'm interviewing a Satanist who became Catholic.
Yeah.
Make sure you add that. Satanist!
Half of my job, I feel like, is just getting you to not say things that you don't mean, like I did with Cameron.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She just goes, because did you notice in that shooting, like I waited like
we're referring to yesterday's video, everybody.
So yeah, yesterday's video where they were talking about how Matt proposed was one of the questions.
Yeah.
And we have a friend whose name is Asian, Ahsyen.
And he agrees it's a bad name.
And he agrees it's confusing, right? But
no, I said a bad name, not
a
confusing.
bad name. Yeah. Fine. He proposed to his now wife at the same spot that Matt proposed. And Cameron says, and our friend Asian proposed here too. So anyway, and she just starts moving on. And I like waited a second for her to realize that you had to that she needed to clarify that. And she didn't. And I was like, hold on, time out.
Well, what was cool about that is even when you explained it to her, I still don't think she got it.
No, she was just like, yeah, his name's Asian.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I was like,
she's so cute. I love it. I love that you didn't get it. Someone just said, I clipped Matt saying, I killed him with a hammer. Why is Thursday dressed like J. Jameson?
J. Jonah Jameson from Spider-Man? Yo, thank you. That's a compliment. Is he Asian though? No, he's Mexican.
And then we thought it would just be funny if Cameron just referred to her friends as their ethnicity. And then my friend Black said to my friend Mexican, like, please stop doing that.
That would be really bad because it would insinuate she only has one friend of each minority.
Anyway, the Satanist will be on next week, who converted to Catholicism. And it's going to be a great episode because he reached out to me. I saw some of his stuff and I think he's a wonderful fella from all accounts. But I wrote to him and I said, I just want to make sure this wasn't like something you flirted with for like a weekend. How invested into this were you? Oh no, very. He was a theistic Satanist. So that should be interesting.
Oh yeah, happy Feast of the Assumption, guys.
Absolutely. Well, we should probably wrap up. Anything else you want to say?
No.
Sam Hyde did it. Did I get that right? Is that something one of your generation where they
Notorious
do that?
Terrorist Sam Hyde.
Sam Hyde, the notorious terrorist.
Sam Hyde.
Killed him with a hammer!
Notorious terrorist Sam Hyde ruined Pints HQ.
That's probably what happened, I think.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I'm to be real fashizy about it.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.